Exciting. I've been doing school visits and I've gotten a lot of tough questions from kids, so I don't expect you guys to disappoint.
Hello, my name is Jasper Malorca. I attend the High School of Art and Design. I was wondering if you want to play a little game with us. I was going to give you you could say one word to these fun rapid fire questions.
All right.
All right. What's one word to describe the NYC school system?
Yeah, I see. Very good.
Very good.
Two. Great.
That's a good 2 words, though.
All right.
What was your favorite subject in school growing up?
Math.
Math? Yeah, that's a great one. This one's a little hard. What's your favorite borough?
Ooh, that is hard. The Bronx.
The Bronx?
I lived in Manhattan, but I love the Bronx. I know.
What's your favorite subway line?
Oh, wow. The 4 train line. Yeah. You want me to say more?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, when I first moved here, I moved to the Bronx. I moved to the Marshall Parkway stop on the 4 train, which is the second to last stop right before, I think, Woodlawn. And I first came here in 1988, and the Mets had just won. And then I came back in 93 when I moved here. And then after that, I was going to Baruch, and I would always take the 4 train down to school. I'd come back up. And then the Yankees started being great. So coming up on the 4 train line when the Yankees are good, it's amazing. Like, people are just on the train. It's great.
So, Yankees or Mets?
Tough. Yankees.
Yankees?
Yeah.
That's
Because when I
classic.
came first in 88, the Mets had just won. Everybody was a Mets fan, so I didn't know any better. I was like, oh, I like the Mets. And then I came back, and I was living in the Bronx. I was a principal in the Bronx. I taught in the Bronx. So I have to go with the Yankees because I became a huge Yankee fan then.
All right, this is the last one. What is your deli order?
Ooh, I mean, bacon, egg, and cheese. If you think about it, it's like a bodega order, but yeah.
Great answers. All right, I'm gonna move along.
Hello.
Hey.
My name is Raylene, and I attend the Brooklyn Institute for Liberal Arts. I'm a junior, and I know that school integration is a priority for you, and that you've tackled it in the form of school mergers. So my school, Baila, recently merged with the school in our building, which was the School for Human Rights. But I've noticed that our school communities haven't really blended together. And a lot of people, my classmates, have, expressed that they have felt isolated. So if you continue to do integration with NYC schools in the form of school mergers, what would you consider a program that you would invest in and create that you feel would stop, further isolation or cause deeper divides within school communities?
That is such a great question. And so I've worked on school integration efforts in a couple of ways, mergers being one that, Alex and others love to talk about. But the big other ways I've worked on it is through middle school choice system. So we try to keep the lottery in place in District 3 when I went there, and also did it through diversity and admissions targets in District 13. But one of the main things I think about is mergers. Or our mergers, because when we look at where the school system is right now, especially with declining enrollment, we see that some schools are too small, right? And so if some schools are too small, it means that they don't necessarily have the robust programs and resources for young people. And so I think mergers can be a tool in doing that. But in order for it to be a true merger, it means that both schools have to look at the things that they do really, really well and then merge those things together. And so you get more than what was there before. You get a real a holistic view of the school. And to be honest, that requires real strong work on the part of the leadership of the school and to include families and young people in the process. There are some really tried and true examples of how you can engage in a merger so that it limits the feeling of loss and it ensures that both communities come together. And I'm gonna look further into your situation because I kind of want to hear a little bit more about what's happening at your school.
Okay, thank you.
I'm Roberto, and on the kind of topic of integration, I go to Hunter College High School, which, although not under your jurisdiction, has a pretty severe lack of diversity. It's less than 5% Black, less than 12% Latina, and less than 17% low income. So, although it's not under your jurisdiction, I wanted to ask about screened and specialized schools, which kind of have those same inequity problems. You've made a commitment to prioritizing integration and working to phase out gifted and talented programs, for example, during your time in District 13. So as you're kind of stepping into the role of chancellor, I wanted to ask if you have a school-wide policy on integration, and if so, what that citywide policy would look like.
That's a great question. I think all of the work that I've done on integration really starts with really strong engagement of families, engagement in some cases of students, but mainly communities. And then, we come up with ideas, we come up with thoughts together. So in District 3, we did that through working groups. We're thinking about the mechanisms by which we're going to do that as a city, but the approach will definitely be influenced by how our families are approaching this or want us to approach this. Yes, you talked about selective admissions and screens and all of that. I think people often look at a specialist high school, which are governed by a state law. And so thinking about how high school screens work, I think we've come a long way as a city where that's concerned. And so when we think about how the groupings work and it's based on grades, not standardized tests, things like that, I think have been significant steps in the right direction from my perspective. And when it comes to gifted and talented programs, again, if you mentioned District 13, there were a group of parents that were thinking about and beginning to work on the phasing out of gifted and talented programs in District 13 even before I got there. And so when I got there, we worked together to kind of push on the system for doing that. And I think what our mayor has talked about is this idea that if you're going to do selective admissions or some kind of admissions process, it's probably better to start that at third grade rather than kindergarten. That's something I broadly agree with, and so I think in the next number of months we'll be engaging and with parents across the city, because the current structure, while it has led to increased diversity, does have its drawbacks as well, and so we should think about, can we come up with a system that really works for how we want to do it if we're going to look at accelerated programs across the city.
All right, thanks so much.
Hello, Chancellor Samuels.
How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Good.
My name is Noah Salas Adam, and I go to Stuyvesant High School. So just shifting focus a little bit, the average New York City public school is 75 years old, which means that many of them are struggling with failing HVAC systems and mold and dust mites even. And schools are also significant contributors to our pollution in the city, the buildings themselves. So I know that Mayor Mamdani outlined his Green Schools for a Healthier New York City plan, which would include renovating 500 schools and having 500 green schoolyards as well. But this comes from a campaign document. So I was wondering what plans you and Mayor Mamdani have now to make this a reality and to make schools greener and also healthier.
Yeah. So, look, I think when we think about the moment that we're in, we are going to build and need to build more schools for a host of reasons. One of them being our class size, the class size law. We have to meet the need, and so if schools, well, since schools are huge around the city, there are 1,600 schools that are in something like 1,000 or so buildings, and I think we provide a great opportunity for our city to be greener, and so that's something that we are definitely going to be working on, and I'm sure the mayor would agree that we want to keep that campaign promise to think about how we're going to make our schools greener and do some renovations in the upcoming years and months.
Are there any specific plans in the works right now?
We're gonna continue to talk about them to see how. It's still early. I've only been here for 2 months, but that's something that we're gonna be talking about in the upcoming weeks and months. Yeah.
Hi, Chancellor Samuels. My name is Zoe.
Nice follow-up,
Yeah.
though. I like it. Yeah, good job.
My name is Zoe, and I attend Bard High School, Early College, Manhattan. You've addressed this desire or the need for schools to be both mentally safe and physically safe. But I have noticed in my own experience that students are experiencing high levels of stress because of our political climate and just all the things that are going on in the world right now. Whether it's the effects of the 24-hour news cycle or the ICE raids in our communities. And so I was wondering, or I'm curious to, what is your plan to kind of help students in NYC sort of manage stress in these particular contexts?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Look, the world is stressful. I think. I think adults also struggle with the things that you're talking about. Number one of the things I've noticed and we're concerned about is, current events often leads to not only stress but bias in school as well, and we've seen that for a long time in our city. When I first started teaching, it was 2003, and the current event was 9/11, and the bias was in Islamophobia. Then we've seen coming all the way through, there were times where there was LGBTQ bias, or we had COVID as the current event, and then we saw a rise in anti-Asian hate. We had October 7th, and we saw a rise in anti-Semitism, and all through that we have seen anti-Black racism in our city. And so, quite frankly, as teenagers or adolescents in school, young people in school navigate these situations, I think, number one, we have to make sure that we have a guidance counselor, social worker, or access to a mental health clinic in every single school. Number two, we also have to make sure that when we think about our curriculum, when we think about our teachers, that they have resources to help support young people through these challenging times. So for us, we're looking at, of course, or work with facing history on ourselves, or work with making sure our hidden voices resources are available to everyone, making sure that we have our Black Studies curriculum that's in place, and of course our hidden voices has 9 different identities it works through. So that's one, in terms of making sure that our young people feel safe, a sense of belonging in what's happening in school. I think it's important to build our teachers' capacity to handle difficult situations. And then, of course, you were talking about stress and mental health. We think obviously phone usage and social media as a part of that, which is why I supported and implemented the cell phone ban, and I think that has gone very well. And so we're always going to be thinking about ways to continue to help young people navigate this polarized world in some ways that I think you're bringing up, because I think that's a huge part. Becoming an empathetic citizen, and I think that's a huge part of what it means to be prepared in the current landscape and prepared for career and college and beyond.
So could we maybe see more of a student voice impact on our curriculum in our schools?
Yeah, so it's a great question. We have so as I go around to schools. I've visited, it's probably about 30 schools since I started in 2 months. What I take away from, and I'm always heartened by and challenged by too, is the fact that our young people and their voices play a huge part in our school. And when we know that kids feel safe is when we see them being a part of the decision-making process in their school, and when we see them when we see their voice being not only lifted up, but they're lifting up their own voices, right? And so I have a student advisory council. We're starting a multicultural student advisory coalition as well, student coalition as well. And so I am completely committed to this idea and this notion of how do we ensure that student voices are driving our system.
Thank you so much.
Hi, as my manager Sabrina would say, greetings, Chancellor Samuels. My name is Jeremiah Dickerson. I'm a student at Williamsburg Charter High School in Brooklyn. And as Zoe said, we couldn't have been in a more challenging world right now. There's so many things going on in our communities, especially like Zoe said earlier, the ICE raids, everything going on in our schools. And as a student myself, I go to school every day, and there's always a different issue that we're facing as Gen Z students. So a lot of times you deal with like parents and stuff that think, hey, like, why are you so stressed? But look at everything that's going on in our world right now. And for me, I praise you, because you couldn't have become chancellor in a more challenging and difficult moment for schools, because there's just so many developments by the day when it comes to the school system. And for one, I kind of wanted to pick your brain on AI policies in schools. Yes, because that is the most controversial topic right now. And as I did tell you earlier, I'm here to put you in the hot seat.
Yeah.
So at my school right now, we faced like the phone ban already. And now they're kind of in the first phase of implementing like a complete ban on AI. But right now I oversee student council. So me and my student council at school have been saying like, hey, I think a complete ban on AI is wrong, because how can you ban AI here in high school, but then you have colleges who are equipping students with AI? And, instead of like, for me, even with banning phones, I feel like banning things are just like putting a Band-Aid on the solution. Because for me as a student in Gen Z, I know that if something is taken away from us, we're just going to find another way to access what was taken away,
Sure.
So I kind of went to pick your brain and see like, what stance do you think schools should be taking right now on AI policies?
Yeah, it's a big one, and it's actually topical and timely. Look, AI is something that's causing a lot of fear, but we can't be crippled by that fear. I do believe there are responsible ways to use AI tools. I do believe that AI tools can serve in ways to accelerate learning, to accelerate and make our teachers' work more efficient. And so we ought to be looking at and thinking about how do we work with and use AI tools. And quite frankly, you all are using it anyway, right? And so we need to, so school cannot be a place, I don't think, that is absent the use of AI. However, I understand some of the fear around AI. But I think from my perspective, there's no way that AI can replace what I think is the most sacred part of our work, which is the relationship between the student and the teacher. I think a lot of folks, that's part of the worry, right? It will replace teachers, and I don't think that is, from what I could see, something that can be replaced. And so we are thinking, and we'll be releasing soon, our first essentially draft on guidance on AI, and which will trigger a 45-day period of feedback on that, because I think, and we're going to be clear around what tools are there. When it comes to safeguards, we are also clear that we want our students to have our students' information to remain private, and we're very, very, very serious around that. So any company that's gonna think about using our students' information would have to go through a host of processes for that. But we do think that we have to be able to look at what the potential benefits are, because we see, especially when it comes to young people who need interventions, there might be opportunities there.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for answering that question with such transparency. I did actually want to follow up with you real quickly on something you stated earlier, which you were speaking.
Since I was here?
Yes.
Okay,
Since you were here, sorry. You were speaking to my colleagues about the Gifted and Talented program and you and Mayor Mamdani's stances. I've been following up with it closely on the internet, but then I've seen like a lot of posts of parents feeling like they're left out of the equation when it comes to like the fate between gifted and talented. So I wanted to ask you basically to just like speak directly to parents who feel like they're left out of the equation. Like, what is it that you could say to them on gifted and talented programs?
What I'll say to them is that we haven't begun our engagement processes yet. And once we get last week we announced our new cabinet. And as a part of that cabinet, we have our first deputy chancellor, Daniel Genta, and myself. We will be arranging an engagement process that will include families who are now in gifted and talented programs, families who have thoughts about what they would want it to look like, and families who are just even getting in the system. So there's going to be a lot of opportunities for feedback. That's something that I pride myself on, and not just feedback, but engagement, because this is a true situation where we need to have strong input to get to a policy and a solution that actually works better than what we have now.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for having this conversation with me.
Thank you. All right.